Hey, what's up guys, and first of all, over on Anime King I post a brand new series done by me personally, yes. Over on Anime King guys, what if Naruto was banished from heaven? So go ahead, check it out and enjoy. Link will be down in the description guys. Click on the link for Anime King. So yeah, today I'm gonna be giving you part 7 of What If Naruto Was the King of Curses, Sukuna. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other channels. Yes, I indeed have 5 channels. Links will be down in the description, so go ahead, check them out, and yeah, enjoy. And don't forget to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you guys. So without further ado or wasting no more time, what do you say we jump right into this brand new episode? Begin now guys. So the last part we left off, it was a very sad day. Yes, because it was the funerals. Heroes and Saratobi had been taken from them. But not just him, many more. Ino was crying as her friend. Despite their rivalry, Sakura was gone. Yes, she was killed in the attack. Kakashi was not even there. He could not even face her parents. To believe that Naruto was the one that ended her, it was a terrible thought. He saw the signs, yes he did. Over and over again he saw the signs, and yet he was too late to save his student. Sasuke was not any wiser until he was released from the hospital. Sasuke was shocked to hear what he said. Yes, Sasuke was one who did not like Naruto either, but to think that he actually killed Sakura. No, that was a shocking revelation that he did not truly understand. However, she was gone, and Naruto was the one that ended her. Hiruzen was now dead, but they need the Hokage. Jiraiya was elected for the position by the elders, however, he had someone better in mind. Someone that would be better fitted for the position. And not to mention she was related to the past first 2 Hokages, that was Tsunade. As for Danzo, he was pissed off. He was so close to gaining what he desired, to be Hokage and lead Konoha right. Danzo had made a deal with that boy. Granted, Danzo was pleased that he killed Hiruzen because he could take the position. However, the boy was now an enemy of Konoha, and Danzo could not let someone that ruthless and powerful go against the village. However, Tsunade could not take the position. That woman was not fit for it, and he refused to allow her to be the one to guide this village. She's been wasting her entire life just out there drinking. He refused to make her do that. So, he was plotting to take her down. Yes, as sad as it would be to lose one of the Sanins, it was the only thing that he had left to do. So he gathered his forces. Tsunade Senju would not make it back to this village. Meanwhile, Naruto had woken up in Orochimaru confines. As he picked himself up, he saw there was a sound ninja by his door. Soon enough, Naruto kicked open the Sanin's door. He stepped inside and finding out that Orochimaru ran away, Naruto did not hold back on insulting him in the slightest. He made sure to insult him as much as he could. However, Kimimaro got really pissed as he threw one of his bones right at Naruto's skull. However, Naruto knocked it away. The both of them got into a brief altercation. Orochimaru soon destroyed that as he stepped up to Naruto and told him to mind the way he speak to him otherwise. as he gave him a bloodlusted look. However, Naruto was not intimidated in the slightest. He stood his grounds, he stood tall, as he was unafraid of the Sannin. It seems like nothing could scare this child. However, he started to act more respectful to the Sannin. But in his mind, he was plotting on slaughtering the Sannin. Yes, there was no joke about it. He was going to kill him. While that was going on, Sasuke was upset, as he was not getting any stronger. How was he going to kill Itachi? More and more he was getting pissed off when someone came to him. Orochimaru had told him to stay behind and prepare himself for the Uchiha, to invite him to come and join him, so when they came to pick him up, it would be more easy. Kabuto Yakushi approached Sasuke to speak with him. Sasuke had not told anyone about this encounter or this meeting because he was actually thinking of leaving the Hidden Leaf because it was not making him stronger. He was not growing in strength and he hated that, and he needed strength to kill Itachi, so he was gonna have to leave the village. As for Danzo, he gathered his assassination force and sent them out to find and kill Tsunade Senju. Some time passed as Naruto was currently making his way along with the Zone 4. None of them got along with each other. However, Teiwaya actually liked Naruto's attitude. He did not give a damn about anyone. He did not fear anyone, not even the Sannin Orochimaru. Seikon, who was the leader of the group, hated Naruto because Naruto undermined his judgment and showed him that he could not control him. They were heading to find someone. This man had created a cure of sorts, something that could help Kimimaro. Orochimaru's recent loss in the invasion made him realize that he needed his stronger allies by his side, and Kimimaro was a loyal, strong ally. Having him just go to waste by dying would be a huge mistake, so he sent them out. He also sent Naruto with them as well because he wanted to show the boy that he was in charge. Yes, he was the one that called the shots. Orochimaru was playing the control game, as Naruto was already aware of that though. When they finally arrived towards the location, it turns out that the man had created a literal village, where the people saw him as some sort of deity, a god, as he had the miracle cure for them. So they were going to sneak in and get it. However, Naruto leaped right in. It was a massacre. Bodies were all over the place. He butchered, he slaughtered. It was chaotic, as he was not holding back in the slightest. He brought the place to its knees. He slaughtered the man's wife and daughter in front of him. Kidomaru had to stop him from ending the man. Orochimaru saw him and wanted him back alive. Naruto almost took off Kidomaru's head. Seikon had to intervene. So with that, they headed back. While all of that was going on, Urame was still tracking Naruto, and she believed it to be her master. She was still tracking him, trying to reach in time. She had went to the Hidden Leaf, and now, the cursed energy that she felt, it brought her out here. And she was on his tail. She was intending on finding him, no matter what. As she came across two sound ninjas, they tried to stand in her way. She proceeded to turn them into ice, as she froze them completely. She was not messing around. Anyone that stood in her path was brought to their knees. As Naruto had came back, he was trying to pull out the deep recesses of power inside of him when he sensed something. He arrived to see a strange woman freezing two sound ninjas. Her eyes went wide as she called him master. So yeah guys, so basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the playstation of yourself. So we'll see you in this new episode. We begin this new episode with Tsunade Senju, as she was currently making her way. Shizune by her side. As they hop from tree branch to tree branch, she was heading to Tansukagai. She heard about the festival that was going on there and the fully decked out casinos. And of course, she was going to be there to take part in that. Shizune already knew that her master would not miss a chance like this to gamble. It was like a gambling paradise. There was also a gambling roulette. To the one that walked away with the most money won would get an extra prize. Tsunade-sama had tried to win this for the past couple of years, but she never came close, not even in the slightest. As they traveled through the trees, Shizune's thoughts were cut as Tsunade suddenly come to a stop, forcing the younger medic to stop as well. Shizune was about to say something until she saw what her master was looking at. There was a caravan down there, with a few civilians. They seemed to be having some trouble. She turned towards her master though. She was shocked by the look on her face. "What's wrong?" she asked. Tsunade didn't know why, but she had this gut feeling that something was terribly wrong, and she should have really trusted her gut until Shizune spoke up. "We should see if we can help," she said. All of them seemed to be civilians. "Tsunade-sama," she said, seeing her master not reacting. "Oh, yeah," said Tsunade, finally snapping out of her gaze. The both of them jumped down. As they did, a woman turned towards them. She seemed to be in her late 50s. "Hello there," she said towards the both of them. "Hello there," Shizune said with a smile. "It seems like you guys are having some trouble." "Yes, I'm afraid so," she said. "It seems like even with our combined strength, none of us are strong enough to lift it up," she said. One of the carriage wheel had dropped into a pothole and broke, and they had to lift it out so they can apply the new wheel. Throughout the whole conversation, Tsunade did not say a word. Shizune stepped forward. "Well, we can help with that." The closer Shizune got, the more she noticed something odd. The formation that they stood in. Something was strange. That is when the woman leaped away. Shizune was caught off guard by her speed. So was the others, they were gone as well. That is when she saw the explosive tags. They were already glowing. She realized that she was going to die. There was no way that she could move fast enough to escape this explosion. She couldn't even channel her chakra. Time seemed to be slowing down for her as she witnessed it started to light. All she could do was close her eyes, having no time to move. It was like a blink. She felt the explosion, and then she heard it. "Shizune, open your eyes!" She did. Tsunade was holding her. She had grabbed her and moved. Tsunade did not trust these people in the first place. She felt something off. It was chakra. There was chakra that they were trying to mask. The only way that they could keep something up like that was using the art of sealing, Fuinjutsu. They must have a good sealer on their team. They were not on their transformations because she would have noticed. She would have felt them trying to stabilize their chakra instead. One of them was in hiding, using his or her chakra to keep them on their transformation with Fuinjutsu. She knew something was wrong the moment she laid eyes on that scene. Shizune breathed a sigh of relief, seeing that she was alive. Her master set her back down. However, there was no time for that. A myriad of shurikens and kunais were coming from everywhere. Tsunade raised her fist. Shizune already understanding as she dropped her fist into the ground. Massive upturn of earth went up, blocking all the weapons. Explosive tags were attached to them as they went off in an explosion. The envoys, all dressed in black with a plain mask, no symbol or marking on them. They reappeared, expecting to see something in the explosion until the one at the front felt something as he looked down. The ground exploded. A pissed off Tsunade emerged, her fist making contact with his chin. His mask exploded into a million pieces. His body was launched into the sky. She did not hesitate to attack the other one. However, he jumped back as two kunoichis masked on through several senbons towards the powerful Sanin. Tsunade cracked her feet into the earth and upturned a massive slob of earth and threw it. It knocked away all the senbons. Shizune jumped in, flipping over her master's head, firing senbons from the senbon launcher that was attached to her wrist, covered by her clothing, as it deflected the other. Just to show how precise her shot was, she landed in front of her master. As she saw two chains being thrown towards her, she ducked. Tsunade reached out and caught the both of them. They tried to send electricity down towards it. However, Tsunade used Earth nature manipulation to counter the attack, funneling the electricity through her right into the ground. Because of her perfect chakra control, she was a master at things like this. It did not harm her in the slightest. She yanked the both of them forward. They came in with their blades. However, Shizune jumped. Tsunade pulled them down as Shizune launched both of her feet outwards, kicking the both of them in the face. With the both of them out of commission for a split second, Tsunade grabbed them by the throats. Their bodies were slammed roughly into the earth, once again upturning it. 4 massive fireballs were coming from all directions. However, Tsunade launched herself in the air, holding on to Shizune as she jumped. She then proceeded to toss Shizune upwards. Shizune already knew what to do as she spun, firing a lot of senbons. These were all precise and aimed right towards her target, forcing all of them to back off, giving Tsunade some breathing room as she caught Shizune and placed her back down. She gazed over the area. There were a lot of them. Their numbers, she was not sure how much, but it was over 15. Suddenly, Shizune jerked as her head leaned over. Tsunade was about to turn until Shizune pulled one of her long senbons, intending to stab it right into the Sanin's heart. However, Tsunade had snapped her hand in the air. The senbon flew up in the sky. That is when Tsunade watched Shizune's other hand lashed out towards her neck. That is when majority of the pursuers rushed in. Tsunade was in a tight position. She had no idea what happened to Shizune, but it seems like some kind of mind control. And she didn't want to hurt Shizune. But she didn't have time to fend off all the pursuers who were willing to use Shizune as a pawn. And they would not care if she died because they were here to kill them from what she saw. So with that, she made her choice. Blood splatter as Shizune's hand that was covered in chakra to represent a scalpel stabbed in Tsunade's shoulder. However, that was what she wanted, as she was able to wrap her right arm around Shizune's waist. She then spun her left arm coated in chakra. When she made contact with the earth, everyone was thrown. The whole center of the forest that they stood was destroyed. Fu, one of the main officers on this mission to kill Tsunade Senju, Link was broken. He was a member of the Yamanaka clan. However, he was taken as a child by none other than Danzo. And now he worked for the man. He was one of the leading officers in this kill mission. He couldn't believe, despite all the years of drinking and gambling, her strength was just as monstrous as it was. Even greater. The whole place had been obliterated. Fu jumped back as he heard screams. Looking forward, he saw that the Sanin was pissed. He saw her hands glowing through the dust and smoke, her eyes furious. He quickly gave the signal to his men as they all prepared themselves. They were tasked to kill Tsunade Senju. He gave a signal as the 5 front men. They took a pill. All of them did. Moment they took the pill, their chakra levels seemed to skyrocket. Their whole body boosts for a short period of time. They flashed in front of the Sanin and they started to violently clash against Tsunade. It was chaos. Shizune, who had came to her senses, was back on her feet. 2 of them flanked her as she tried to hold them off. Fu raised his hand. All he needed was to get the Senju under control. All he needed was to turn her into his puppet. The reason why he did not try it before was her mind was too focused and her will was strong. There was no doubt about that. She would maybe be able to hold him off. And if she found his position, the plan that they had set in motion would be done for. But now, her mind was busy as she was focused on fighting all of the root agents who had swallowed the pill that temporarily boosts everything in being a ninja. Sense, feeling, speed, strength, everything. It was a specialized drugs that Danzo had some of his lab tech working on. And this was just the prototype. However, they decided to use it for this mission. There was side effects, but Danzo wanted this completed as soon as possible and by any means necessary. Fu knew that he only had one shot for this. Only one shot, he thought to himself. As he sent his technique off, it slammed into the Sannin, and she stopped. The Root Ninjas did not hesitate. The four of them that remained drive their blade right into her. Because of their position, two of them went into her arms, one into the left and one into the right. It tore through her arms and burst into her sides. The other two plunged it into her chest. They did not even factor in her heart position, they just plunged, knowing that they only had one chance. Sweat was pouring down Fu's face as a violent golden aura started to release from the Sannin. He was thrown back to his body, his mental capacity not being able to subdue her. Tsunade Senju had spent her entire life learning about the inner workings of the human body. She also learned about the brain as well. After all, it was a main component in feeling and understanding pain. So it did not take her too long to break out of her prison that she was placed in, her own mind. He knew that this was a long shot. Danzo knew that this was a long shot. However, it was the only thing that he had to do, and quickly, because he could not afford for her to return. Fu snapped his head behind him as he heard something. His eyes went wide in fear. It can't be, he thought. He told the three that next to him to move immediately. They flashed away. He could not afford to be chased. Of all people, why now? Why here? He thought they had more time. As for the remaining ninjas, they were shocked when they saw steam coming out of her wounds. Black markings spread over her body. The four ninjas' eyes widened as Tsunade looked up, a trail of blood running down her lip. She stepped forward, despite the blades, and grabbed the first two. She cracked their skull together. The other two leaped away. Tsunade threw all the blades out of her skin. She moved off at speeds and slammed right into the both of them, her hand hooking right into their throat. Their entire base of their neck collapsed in on itself. One jumped from above, as he was not told the signal by Fu. His whole body was covered in explosive tag, a suicide move. However, a massive piece of earth shot out of the ground and slammed into him. It tossed his body away as he exploded. Tsunade had no time to look behind her because Shizune had a sword raised over her head to take it clean off. She had dispatched one of the elite root ninjas by cutting the tendons in his legs and his arms as well. He had collapsed down like a puppet when she took out his legs. However, the other one was able to get the better of her, despite Tsunade taking them down so easily. Her title as a Sannin and her strength was far above Shizune. Shizune was not strong enough to handle two at once, and they used the numbers against her. And now the blade was going to take her head off. The ground cracked as Tsunade was about to throw herself in the path to take the attack. However, a feet with yellow sandals crashed into his skull. The base of his skull cracked, his head obliterated as it made contact with the earth. The person did not hold back in the slightest. He then landed, white hair whipping around. It was none other than the Sannin Jiraiya. The ground stopped breaking apart as Tsunade released the grip that she was about to use to leap off. She released a breath that she did not even know she was holding, as all her wounds had long since healed. All the bodies of the ones that they took down were currently being burnt, the seals on their body, destroying them, not leaving a shred of evidence behind. The moment their hearts stop, their bodies just ignite, flames that incinerate every piece of them, leaving nothing. Tsunade made her way over. "Are you alright?" she said, looking at Shizune. Shizune nodded as Jiraiya spoke. "Well, it seems it's worse than I thought," he said. "Wait, you know what this is?" she asked him. I think I have a clue. And you're not gonna like it, he said to her. Meanwhile that was going on, Naruto tilted his head as he looked at the woman standing in front of him. Did you just call me master? He said. Before she could say something, one of the surviving sound ninjas rushed towards Naruto's side. She's already killed 3 sound ninjas. We should take her down, he said, believing that Naruto was on his side. However, the next moment, Naruto ripped his throat out. The guy did not even see it coming as Naruto tossed his body into the woods with just a flick of his hand. Urame did not concern herself with that vermin. Her gaze was still on her master. How is this possible? She said, a look of absolute shock and daze in her eyes. I thought you were still sealed away. She stepped forward as Naruto did not move. For some reason he felt like he knew this woman. As she bowed in front of him, a smile came on his face. As much as I like what you're doing. Who are you? He said. Lord Sukuna, she said. Sukuna? My name is Naruto. What are you on about? She scanned him over, just looking at him from head to toe. I'm certain. It's you. There's no one else that possesses such a powerful and raw, immense curse energy. But it's weaker. Her gaze fell on his stomach as she reached forward. However, he grabbed her hands. What are you doing? He said to her. I was merely checking. I'm sorry I didn't ask for your permission for you to be touched, she said to him. Checking for what? He said. What is stopping you from remembering who you are? Naruto raised an eyebrow as he lifted his shirt up and looked down toward his stomach. Are you talking about this? That seal, she said to him. May I? Yeah, sure, he said to her. I've been dying to get this thing off of me. She reached forward as she made contact with it. That is when Naruto saw strange purple energy rushing through the seal. Before it seemed to be bound by said seal, holding it back. Naruto felt an intense rush of pain as he dropped down to his knees, gripping onto his stomach. My lord, she said, as Naruto snapped his gaze up. The look in his eyes, it did not seem to be something that she feared, but something that she adored. However, Naruto was seeing images in his head of a long red-haired woman shouting at him. I won't allow you, she said. Beside her stood a blonde-haired man, looking at him with distaste and anger. We won't allow you to escape, they said. The pain soon subsided as Naruto picked himself up. What the hell was that? I do not know, my lord, she said. You keep on calling me your lord. Why? Because you are Lord Sukuna, king of the curses, and the most powerfulest curse to ever walk this earth. Naruto raised the eyebrow at that. Really now, he said. Well, tell me more. Time skip. Naruto was standing within the foliage as he leaned up against a tree, waiting for them to arrive. It would be soon, he thought to himself. A lot has happened over the past months. Yes, a lot has happened. First thing first, he found out a lot about himself. The woman that he was speaking to, her name was Urame. She was also a curse like him. It turns out that he was the one that placed her in that body. That was not her original body. That was a human body that kept her surviving throughout the ages. Because if he did not do that, she would have been sealed away like the other thousands of curses that the Sage of Six Paths sealed away. It was a long story. First of all, it turns out his true name was Sukuna. He was the king of all curses, the one that led them, the one that stood atop of the chain when it comes to the curses. His goal for mankind was to drive it into pure utter chaos, to even find someone that was worthy enough to handle his full power. someone worthy enough to battle. Naruto smiled when he heard that. That wasn't different from his world domination plan. To throw the world into chaos and have all nations fighting. It was truly remarkable. However, it turns out that, in order to get to this plane of existence, certain restrictions that prevent curse energy and curses that had created and grown from mankind, hatred, and the darkness in their heart. Some seals that blocked off the cursed world, and the elemental nation was there. He had no idea what the hell that was. It turns out that he was the one that led a campaign to break those seals. He was able to trick a human into performing several of those things that was needed, and several of those seals were broken. However, he did not return with his full power, because he did not destroy all the seals. And it turns out that he ended up failing in the long run. He fought the man known as the Sage of Six Paths, but without his full power, the Sage came out on top. The Sage defeated him. He used majority of the Jubi's power to seal him and the other curses away. But before he was sealed, he ended up sending several of those cursed spirits into human bodies. Bodies that he had slayed earlier, trapping them so they would not be affected by the seal. Urame was one of them. He trapped her in that woman. However, she was unable to tell him how he was here. The last thing she remembered was him being chained down and sealed away. A seal that she has been trying to break for ages now. It turns out that the Sage of Six Paths told his two sons about this. The younger one, Ashura. He had kept up the tradition of making sure the tail beast's powers were never united, because if they were, the power from the fluctuation of the Jubi should be enough to break the seal and the barrier that had locked away her master for all this time. And another evil as well, a woman known as Kaguya, but he did not give a damn about her. The problem was Urame could not tell him how he was here. She said that he was the only one that had information about that. Information that he did not know about. It turns out that part of him was sealed inside of himself. As crazy as that sound. Yes, the cage. That person, that hand. That was part of him. She told him that he did not need a key to break it, he just need the remainder of his power, which the Sage of Six Paths had placed into each of the Bijus. A finger that contained a part of his power. It turns out that he had 4 arms, so in total he had 20 fingers, but there was only 10. She said that the power inside of him was at least 5 fingers that were trapped away behind this special seal. Now it made sense why the god of death could not take his soul. He wasn't even human. So if 5 fingers were trapped in the seal and 10 was out there, well, not 10 per se. Each of the 9 Bijus had 1. He was also a Jinjuliki, which meant he had 1 as well. That was a confusing part because he had no 9 tails. And the other part was he took 1 from Gara, which makes 7. She believed that combining all of the tail pieces would also give him a finger as well. So in total, that was 15. The 9 from the 9 Bijus, and combining all the tail beast's power to bring back the Jubi would give him 1 that made 10. And then the 5 that was sealed and trapped away inside of him. And in total there was 20, so that meant 5 other fingers were trapped away in the strange world beyond this one. So that meant the Sage had fight him with 15 fingers, which was a representation of his power. Urame did say that the Sage never recovered from their battle. Through the ages, his power had never fully returned, and he was never as strong as he was once again. And she did say that even with a few of his fingers gone, his power was still just not complete. So he was not at his fullest. And she had the idea on how to fully give him all of his powers that belongs to him. The idea was sound. Before that though, he had a few things to finish up. Orochimaru had his own ninjas infiltrate the Hidden Leaf village. It was truly disappointing how insecure the village was. Well, Orochimaru was a former member of said village, so he knew the in and outs. But Naruto did not care about that. Orochimaru had sent him to back up the Sound 4. Yes, to back them up and kill anyone that was pursuing them. So Sasuke could get here quickly and safely. So that he could take Sasuke Uchiha's body. Yes, the Sannin was planning on taking Sasuke from the get-go and taking over him, gaining the Sharingan. That pathetic Uchiha was now seeking greater power by selling his soul to that slippery bastard. Not if Naruto had anything to say about it. Meanwhile that was going on, she just took office not so long ago, and yet this problem was already here. Tsunade Senju was seated behind her decks. You might ask, what was she doing in the village? And why was she the current Hokage? After that little battle, Jiraiya had told her what he believed. He had an idea from a long time ago that Danzo had not suspended root ninjas. He had seen one before, and that tactic that they use, killing themselves rather than giving information, and burning into a crypt, that wasn't a first timer. He knew that Danzo was behind this. However, the man played safe. There was no shred of evidence. Coming up to him and accusing him of something like this would simply bring bad fate of Tsunade retaking the office, accusing him when she had no evidence. That was how this stupid system worked. As much as many people hated him, there was nothing linking him back to this. No bodies remaining, and Danzo was at the village, and many people could say for his location. But that was it. He did not go himself, of course. He used his pawns. Tsunade was thinking of just returning, despite him, because he tried to have her killed. However, her pain and regret would not let her. That is when she spoke to the other Sannin. She was able to find out a lot. It's been a long time. However, she saw tears in the man's eyes and leaking down his face. Jiraiya was throwing himself into work. Yes, he was. So he would not have to focus on what was truly nagging at him. It was all his fault. If he had just listened to Sensei and removed Naruto completely, everything would have been perfect. They would have been able to keep a closer eye on him and lock him away from certain proceedings like the exam. But it was his fault that Sensei died. He put his trust in the boy and he gutted his teacher. That monster. Tsunade had saw how truly broken the man was on the inside. Jiraiya had held back a lot of pain, a lot of things that he had failed in life, and it came out full force. He even felt embarrassed the next day, as he did not even want to talk to Tsunade. But she surprised him though. She said that she was going to return with him. He was a big part of her returning, because if she did not, there was a good chance that Danzo might take the seat. And he told her that Naoki and Dan would never stand for someone like that ruling Konoha, and neither would Sensei. That had hit her rather deep. She spent the entire night thinking about it. She did not get a single second of sleep. And because of Jiraiya as well, him begging her to come back, and Danzo's actions, she made up her mind. She would return. So she did. The man was surprised when he saw her. Despite the failed attempt, Danzo believed that she would stay away. But she was here. She was here. And she was justified in taking the seat. And there was not a single thing that Danzo could do to stop that. The man was furious, however, he did not let it show. Tsunade did not say anything that she knew that he was behind the attack. However, she's already have her envoys working on a way to find out that he was the one. She was going to find something, and after that there would be no second chances. She was not like her sensei. She was going to put him to death. Yes, the moment she finds something she can use against him, she was going to have him killed. He was a traitor to this village. He tried to have her killed, and there's no telling what he would do if he ever gained the position. So it's time that they got rid of him, permanently. However, things went from bad to worse when Sasuke Uchiha decided to leave the village. A still sad Ino Yamanaka ran into him late at night when she was just walking to clear her mind. The death of Sakura it was still weighing on her heavily. Ino had yelled at Sasuke. She couldn't understand after everything, especially after what their own teammate Naruto did. He would leave this village. Sasuke had knocked her out before she could inform anyone. If he had more sense, he should have eliminated her. After all, now he was being hunted. Tsunade had to gather who she can. Majority of the higher heads were out on missions. The invasion had hit them hard. So she was just hoping that they would be able to bring him back and stop these criminals. Meanwhile that was going on, Danzo Shimura had set everyone to be punished. All the ones that had came back, even his most loyal foe. They had to know that running away was never the option. They should have all died trying to kill the two Sanins, put their life on the line, but yet they ran away. He knew that he would have still found out about Tsunade when she showed up at the damn village. Danzo was not pleased, of course not. Majority of his root ninjas died in that attack, and they got shit. Nothing at all. He was furious, and now that damn stupid Uchiha ran away. Orochimaru and him were no longer working together, as the Sannin had taken upon himself to kidnap and put the Uchiha on his side. Something that Danzo never wanted. He would have been able to manipulate the Uchiha, but that damn Sannin got in his way. He frowned. There was a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Damn it, he cursed to himself. Meanwhile, the retrieval team was making their way. It consists of Shino Aberame, Kiba Inuzaka, Neji Hyuga, Choji Akimichi, and Shikamaru Nara, as they were all making their way to get towards Sasuke Uchiha and bring him back. Ino was certain that Sasuke was willing to leave in the village. However, because of the mark, one could not tell if his mind was being manipulated. As Neji gave the team leader Shikamaru the signal, they were catching up with them. They suddenly stop. Neji raised his hand for his group to stop as well. Kiba sniffed the ear along with his puppy. Why did they stop, he said, concerned and confused by their actions. They've been trying their best to get away and cross the border, but suddenly, they stop. They all turned to Neji because he could see. Neji noticed that something was coming towards them, from ahead. His eyes widened. It's him, he said in shock and surprise, and fear as well. Who? Shikamaru said. Naruto Uzumaki. Everyone tense. Shino, Kiba, Choji, all of them tense. Kiba had been one to fight Naruto in the exams, and he had lost in a second. Any more and he would have been dead. However, the problem was Naruto was the one that had killed the Hokage. While they were not fully keyed in on the information, how could they hope to stand against someone like that? Shikamaru was thinking fast as he could. However, he's on his way. Neji shouted out. We have to fight him, Shikamaru said, knowing that trying to run away would end up with them being picked off one by one. He was faster than them, there was no doubt about that. He quickly started to tell them how to form up and set up their formation. As quick as he could, he made a plan. Naruto crash-landed in front of the group. Shikamaru cursed. Sasuke was going to leave and there was nothing they could do about that. Shikamaru doubted that any of them right here could take this guy on by themselves. They had to work together or they would die. Naruto picked himself up as he looked at each of the members. There was a smile on his face. "Hi there, Kiba," he said, in a friendly tone. "So I guess you guys are on the retrieval mission to get old Sasuke back to the village, huh?" He noticed their stance. "What's the problem?" he said. "Why do you guys seem so tense?" as he started to walk forward. That was when he suddenly stopped. Looking down, he noticed a shadow attached to him. "Now!" Shikamaru shouted as Choji became large. He then spun forward and threw himself right towards Naruto to crush him. However, Shikamaru's eyes went wide. "Choji, stop!" he yelled as his shadow binding broke immediately. The large tank, which was now Choji, crashed into something hard. They watched as Choji's body deflated and returned back to normal. However, Naruto's nails had dug right into his chest, stopping him in his tracks. Choji's whole body seemed to have seized up by the latent cursed energy that Naruto realized that he could pump out and into people. This was far more toxic and deadly than chakra. It had stopped Choji's movements. His body started to seize up. He started to tremble. Naruto ripped his nails out of him as he was going to take off Choji's head until bugs surrounded him. He leaped up in the sky. Now in mid-air, the bugs were still following him. He then noticed two swirls coming from left and right. He smirked to himself before he slammed his hand together, before he threw them outwards. The two blurs came to a stop as Kiba cried out. A large gash tore through his left shoulder. Akamaru was sent through as he crashed to a tree, blood splattering on said tree. As Naruto was about to land, Neji was behind him in a second. Shikamaru once again captured Naruto. Neji dropped into his stance. He did not hesitate. 64 palms. Neji hit him with every single amount of ferocity that he had in order to bring him down. However, his last attack was caught. Neji was baffled as Naruto grabbed his leg that he was trying to kick him with. He then proceeded to step into Neji's calf and then step into his knee with his other feet. Neji cried out as Naruto slammed a fist right in his mouth, shattering several of his teeth. He then backhanded him. His body was thrown as he crashed through a tree. Shikamaru could not even hold on to him with his shadow. Naruto sprinted towards Shikamaru, aiming on taking his head off. Once again, bugs stopped him though, as Naruto leaped away. Looking around at the members who were trying to regroup, he smiled. As he started to walk away, Shikamaru was confused. "Don't worry, I wasn't after any of you, as much as I would like to slaughter you all right here and now. It would just waste my time. You see, we have a vested interest. I don't want the Uchiha to get to the Sannin as well. I've wasted enough time. As fun as this was, you guys bore me." As Naruto started to walk, "Hey, bug boy, send your bugs after me once again, and I'll change my mind, and I'll slaughter you all," said Naruto, bloodlust springing out of him. Shikamaru raised his hand that was shaking as he stopped Shino from sending his bugs after the blonde. He saw the look in his eyes. "Smart move, leader. I guess you get to live another day." As for the Uchiha, as Naruto chuckled darkly before, he sprinted off with amazing speed. Shikamaru lowered his head, panting heavily. The mental exhaustion, sweat running down his forehead. Shino collapsed down to one knee. The bloodlust had shocked his body into a state of submission, despite the fact that he was no longer here. Time skip. The Sound 4 was going well. They would be able to get away. There was no question about that. As they made their way, the group felt something. They turned. Move! They all leaped away. However, Jirobo, who was carrying the coffin, had to throw it to Kidamaru, who caught it with his 6 arms. And he wasn't able to jump away as a fire arrow slammed right into him. Jirobo cried as he was burned alive. There was no escaping it. His flesh melted off the bones. He was burnt. All of them spun around. Kidamaru looked up, and that was his mistake. As Naruto appeared right towards his chest and sunk his hand right into it. He did not stop until it burst through Kidamaru's back. He then pushed his other hand through the left side of his chest. He then started to expand it. The horrified look on Kidamaru's face as he dropped the coffin, as Naruto split him in half. The coffin hit the ground. As a pissed off Seikon saw what happened, he did not waste any time as he burst forward. He appeared in front of the blonde, his fist in hands, to crush his skull. Naruto braced himself as he was sent sailing off the tree branch. Seikon did not stop as his brother released his arms. Naruto was now clashing with all 4 of them, a wicked grin on his face. So you finally show your true motives. I'll kill you, Seikon said. Down below, Teiwaya did not move. She remained where she was. She did not even raise her flute. She just stood there, watching, observing. Naruto had noticed that. She did not even say a word as Naruto flipped away. Immediately, the 2 brothers split apart, regrowing their other halves. They attacked him with a fury. Naruto had to say, they were strong. And this was fun! However, as Naruto started to expand and release more of his cursed energy, his strength and power started to skyrocket. He stepped in Ukon's chest. The kick alone was able to blast him through 5 trees. Seikon jumped down on Naruto, aiming to crush his skull with his mutated arm. Naruto grabbed it and pulled it downwards before he jumped and cracked his heel in the side of Seikon's face. His head snapped to the side. Ukon rushed in as Naruto flipped over and kicked him in the skull, knocking him down to the ground. The brothers transformed, now looking monster-like. They rushed towards Naruto once again. Their strength had increased tenfold. Is this all you can do? Said Naruto. We're just getting started, Ukon said, as he attacked Naruto in a perfect rhythm. They knew each other inside out. When they finally separated, Naruto smiled to himself as he gripped his hand outwards. Before he gripped his other hand outwards as well, he slapped his hand together, the slap echoing around. Fire started glistening off his fingertips as it started to swirl around his hands. Naruto started to turn. The fire was now revolving around him, heat, burning everything in sight. The last thing you will feel is my flames, turning you into dust. And the last thing I will hear is your screams, which will make me laugh, he said. He started gathered in his palm like a ball. Both brothers had no choice. The attack that had took out Jirobo, however, this should be able to block it. They went through a sequence of hand sign. Rashomon, they said. However, Naruto released the blade of fire, no longer an arrow. What happened was truly surprising as the brothers thought the gates would be able to hold it back. The first gate was obliterated. The second gate started to crack and gave way. As it reached melting point, it burned right through it. They tried to jump, however, both of their opposite halves were erased by the flames. They dropped to the side, screaming out in agony. The pain was agonizing. Their body was burned and torched. Yet they were still alive. Naruto walked over towards Seikon and grabbed him. He walked over towards Ukon. He had a smile on his face. They raised their hands up. However, Naruto ripped it off. They screamed even more. Let's see if I can rejoin you too. He started to slam their burned, bruised part together, over and over and over again, until it was nothing but a bloody mush. When he finally dropped their bloody corpses, there was no sound emanating from either of them. He then looked up to the sky with a smile on his face as he flashed the blood off his hand. Before he licked his lips as he turned, standing there was Teiwaya. She did not seem fazed by what he just did. Naruto stepped forward. She did not move. "Why didn't you attack me?" he said. "Because I'm not stupid," she said to him. "I figured that you were planning something like this from the moment you accompanied us on that mission," she said. She was not a fool. She knew that he plotted to kill all of them. And she knew the moment she made a move, she would die. She was not the strongest on this group, and yet he slaughtered them all so quickly. So she knew that she would die. As cocky and as arrogant as she was, something was stopping her from attacking him. "So where does that put us?" said Naruto as he appeared in front of her using speed. She tried to step back, however, he grabbed her by the shoulders, his gaze boring into hers. As he looked at her, his gaze then fell upon the mark on her neck. "You know that I can just kill you right now. I've already shown you that. I don't hesitate," he said. She felt a chill went up her spine. Strangely enough, yes, she was afraid, but she felt aroused, which confused her, as Naruto could literally smell it from her. A smile was on his lips. "Do you want to join me?" he asked. "Why the hell would I do that?" she said, putting up a strong front. "Because you're not fighting back. And you're not moving," he said. She realized that she had not moved away from him, with his arm wrapped around her. As he kept on gazing into her eyes, while his body moved so slowly, it was like a hypnotic state. She was ashamed to admit it, but from the moment she laid eyes on him, when she heard him talk, she heard how assertive, how arrogant, and how powerful he was. She couldn't help the feelings that swelled up in her heart, even that night when he had tried to kill her. Usually, she would have been pissed, but yet, a few hours after, she was fine. She swallowed thickly. "Orochimaru would screw him," said Naruto as he rested his hand on her shoulder. "Come with me and survive. Stay by my side as one of my worthy worshippers, and you will watch as I slaughter the snake." She was confused. She was loyal to the Sannin, and yet she could not raise her hand against him. Unaware of what Naruto was doing, he never thought that it would actually work. As he smiled to himself, Curse energy was a lot stranger than he thought. Ever since meditating and drawing out more of the power, it seems like Curse energy could use and twist others' dark desires. Right now he was fluttering said Curse energy over her body, and it was affecting her. Also the mark on her neck that wanted to retaliate against him, for her to stand by her master Orochimaru. As Naruto placed a hand on her chin, lifting her face. "So what do you say?" he said. "You wanna join me?" he asked. Teiwaya was cursing up a storm in her mind, as she felt so vulnerable and open, with his hand trailing all around her and touching her. Usually, she would have tried to knock the person's head off already, but yet, she was allowing him to do as he pleased. Did she like him? Was it because of his attitude? No, it was all of it. His personality. Everything about him. It was just so... She felt like she was melting, weak in the knees. She wanted to stand by his side for some reason. It has been bothering her for some time now, and now she had a choice. Fight and die, or join him. The words did not come, but her body responded as she nodded her head, slowly. That is when Naruto smiled. His canines could be seen. They seemed to glisten with a strange purple liquid. It was not saliva. He sunk his teeth into her neck. She screamed, her cheeks turning red. That was until she started to shake and tremble. Naruto released her as she dropped down to the ground. Her whole body was trembling. Her skin turned grey. Strange purple lines rushed through her body as she convulsed and shook violently on the ground. Her eyes changed color. Purple lines seemed to spread through her entire being as purple smoke erupted out of her mouth and her eyes. That is when her chakra started to flare and turn more dark. Naruto stood there with a smile as he watched. His cursed energy was twisting and binding and turning the curse mark into something of his nature. He wondered if this would work on a normal person, or perhaps it's because of her curse mark that was tied into her own DNA, which his cursed energy was now taking over. He watched with a smile on his face. However, she passed out. He stepped towards her and checked her pulse. She was alive. As she was unconscious, her body was changing. Naruto placed his hand on her chest and pumped more of his cursed energy inside of her. Her body trembled some more as he watched the changes take place. That is when he noticed something as he saw the lid of the coffin explode open, and Sasuke Uchiha jumped out of it. Naruto looked up. "Perfect," he said. Meanwhile, Itachi Uchiha didn't know why, but he felt a strange sensation in his heart, like he just lost something. Hasn't he lost enough already? But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part, and do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off now. See you guys soon. Peace.